Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into artificial intelligence in medicine. It's it's a field that feels both kind of futuristic and also very, very present right now.
It really does.
We've got a fascinating collection of sources here that help us get a handle on the whole picture. Where it started, the tech itself, where it's actually being used, and what might be next.
That's right. And it's moving so fast, full of potential, but also complexity.
Yeah.
So our goal here in this deep dive is really to walk through this material, pull out the key ideas, connect the dots.
Yeah, between the tech and the real world.
Exactly. And maybe pinpoint where things get, really interesting or maybe even a bit controversial.
Think of this as your guided tour. We'll trace the journey from the early ideas right up to the cutting edge. We want you to come away feeling pretty well informed about this whole transformation happening in healthcare.
And these sources, they give us a really solid base covering lots of angles, technical stuff, ethical points, the works.
Okay, so let's get the ball rolling. This didn't just happen overnight, did it?
Yeah.
Where did AI in medicine really begin? What were those first attempts?
No, definitely not overnight. You've
Yeah.
got to go back decades, really, to the early expert systems. One of the big ones back in the 1970s was MYCIN.
Ah, MYCIN.
Yeah.
What was its specific job?
MYCIN was designed for diagnosing certain infectious diseases and recommending treatments. And what was really amazing for that time was how well it did.
How well?
Well, studies showed its accuracy was often right up there with human doctors, sometimes even better, for those specific infections.
Oh, matching physicians back in the 70s. That's kind of startling.
It was. But it wasn't just performance. MYCIN had this other feature that was way ahead of its time. It could actually explain how it reached its conclusions, justify its reasoning.
So like showing its work.
Exactly.
Oh.
This is a super early example of what we now call explainable AI, or XAI. It shows they knew even back then how important trust and understanding were.
Yeah, you need that explanation to get anyone to actually trust it, I imagine.
Absolutely. And then there was another key system around then, Internist 1. MYCIN was pretty narrow, but Internist 1, well, it tried to cover a much, much broader range of internal medicine. A really ambitious early attempt at a comprehensive diagnostic tool.
Okay, so those laid some groundwork. When did things really start to accelerate towards the kind of AI we hear about constantly now?
There were definitely some key moments, breakthroughs that shifted things. 2016 was a big one. Google DeepMind developed a system for diabetic retinopathy screening.
Oh, right. Looking at eye scans?
Yeah, retinal images.
Yep.
And it performed at the level of human specialists, sometimes better in spotting the condition.
And that's a huge issue globally, right? Diabetic retinopathy,
Mm.
especially when people can't easily see an eye specialist.
Precisely. So this tech offers a way to scale up screening massively. It's been deployed successfully in places like Thailand and India, bringing screening into primary care. That's a massive potential impact on preventing blindness.
That's a fantastic example of AI tackling a real-world health need. Okay, what about 2020? You mentioned that year too.
Yeah, 2020 was huge because of Google's AlphaFold. It basically solved the protein structure prediction problem, which was a grand challenge in biology for decades.
Okay, but that's not directly diagnosing patients, is it?
Yeah.
How does predicting protein shapes help?
Right. It's indirect, but incredibly profound. See, a protein's 3D shape determines what it does in the body.
Okay.
So being able to predict that shape accurately is, well, it's fundamental for understanding diseases at a molecular level.
Mm.
And crucially, it dramatically speeds up drug discovery.
How so?
By helping scientists identify potential drug targets the proteins involved in a disease and then design molecules that might actually interact with those targets effectively. It streamlines that whole early phase.
Got it. So AlphaFold is like this foundational breakthrough for future drugs and treatments.
Yeah.
And then obviously the world hit the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic acted as this unexpected catalyst for AI adoption in healthcare. Suddenly there was this urgent need. So systems were developed really quickly for things like analyzing chest scans, for COVID patterns, helping researchers sift through data to find existing drugs that might work, improving models to track the spread.
It really put AI to the test in a crisis.
It did. And it highlighted both the potential speed and power of AI, but also, critically, the absolute need for fast yet rigorous validation. You can't cut corners, even when things are moving quickly.
Absolutely. So beyond these sort of big moments in research pushes, we're also seeing companies spring up just focused on healthcare AI.
Oh, definitely. A whole ecosystem. You've got companies like Zebra Medical Vision doing imaging, Path AI in computational pathology, Tempus focusing on precision medicine. They're all building very specialized AI tools.
And the big established medical tech companies, are they in the game too?
They're deeply involved. Philips, GE Healthcare, Siemens Healthineers. They're integrating AI into their scanners, their software platforms. So AI is becoming less of a standalone thing and more embedded in the tools clinicians already use.
Makes sense. And we shouldn't forget the universities and research centers driving this too.
Absolutely critical. Places like Stanford, MIT, the Mayo Clinic, they're pushing the boundaries, developing new methods, asking the hard questions, and also training the people who will use and build this stuff in the future.
Okay, that paints a really good picture of the journey and the players involved. Let's switch gears a bit. How does this stuff actually work? What are the core AI technologies making it all happen?
Yeah, the how. So at the heart of a lot of this, technically speaking, are deep learning architectures. And they're often specialized for the kind of data they need to process.
Right, because medicine has all sorts of data images, numbers over time, doctor's notes. It's complex.
It's incredibly diverse. So for medical images, think X-rays, CT, MRI scans, those digital pathology slides. The real workhorses are convolutional neural networks, CNNs.
Okay, CNNs. Why are they good for images?
They're just designed to be really good at spotting patterns, shapes, textures, anomalies in visual data. So tasks like finding a tumor, segmenting an organ, classifying an image as normal or abnormal. Some newer CNNs even have attention mechanisms.
What does that mean?
It helps the AI focus on the most important parts of the image, kind of like how a radiologist might scan for specific features. It makes them more efficient and often more accurate.
Interesting. So they look at images intelligently. What about data that changes over time, like patient vital signs in the ICU or their history in the health record?
Right, time series data. For that, you often see recurrent neural networks, RNNs, and especially a type called LSTMs, long short-term memory networks.
LSTMs, quite a name.
Yeah. Medicine is full of data that unfolds over time. Think heart rate monitoring, blood sugar levels, the sequence of diagnoses and treatments in a patient's record. RNNs and LSTMs are built to understand those sequences, those temporal patterns and dependencies.
So they can understand the story the data is telling over time.
Pretty much. They're used for things like predicting if a patient's condition might worsen based on their recent vitals, or analyzing long-term records to see who might be at risk for something down the line.
Okay, images, time series. What about all the text? Clinical notes, research papers. There's so much written information.
Yeah, mountains of it. For text, transformer models have become incredibly powerful in recent years.
Transformers like the tech behind things like ChatGPT.
Exactly. Similar underlying architecture. They're exceptionally good at understanding context, nuance, relationships between words and concepts in language.
So what do they do with medical text?
Things like clinical text mining, pulling key information out of doctors' unstructured notes, helping with medical coding, analyzing vast amounts of research literature way faster than humans could. They even show promise for things like generating summaries or first drafts of reports, though again, accuracy and validation are absolutely key there.
That could save clinicians a lot of time, but medical language is tricky, right? Full of jargon, abbreviations.
It's incredibly tricky, and that's where the broader field of natural language processing, or NLP, comes in. It's not just transformers, it's a whole suite of techniques to handle the specific challenges of medical language.
Like what kind of challenges?
Like figuring out that MI means myocardial infarction, or understanding the sentiment in patient feedback forms, or enabling reliable voice recognition so doctors can dictate notes. Real-time transcription is getting better, structuring that dictated info, but it always needs quality checks.
So NLP is crucial for making sense of all that unstructured language data. You also mentioned graph neural networks, GNNs. What are they for?
GNNs are really cool and becoming important, especially in molecular medicine and drug discovery. They're designed for data that has inherent relationships, like a network.
What kind of networks?
Think of the structure of a molecule atoms connected by bonds, or biological pathways, genes and proteins interacting with each other. GNNs can process that structured relational data.
Okay, so what can you do with that?
In drug discovery, you can use them to predict a molecule's properties, like will it be toxic? Will it be effective based on its structure? Or analyze how proteins interact in a disease pathway. They're good at understanding those complex connections.
Wow, it's a really specialized AI toolkit for all the different kinds of medical information.
It is. And there are other important methods, too, like ensemble methods, things like random forests, gradient boosting, XGBoost. These combine multiple models and are often really good for prediction tasks using mixed data like you find in electronic health records, numbers, categories, etc.
Okay.
And we can't forget computer vision more broadly. Beyond CNNs, it covers vital steps like cleaning up images, aligning different scans, detecting specific objects, and even fusing information from multiple types of images like PET and CT scans.
Okay, so we have this powerful, diverse set of AI tools.
Mm.
Where are we actually seeing them making a difference today? Let's talk applications.
Right. AI in action. This is where it gets really tangible. And probably the most mature area right now is medical diagnosis and screening.
I hear a lot about AI in radiology and imaging. Is that leading the way?
Definitely. Radiology and pathology are big areas. Take chest x-rays. AI systems now can detect things like pneumonia with accuracy matching expert radiologists. And during COVID, they were adapted incredibly quickly to spot telltale signs.
That quick adaptation must have been critical then.
Hugely valuable. Another big one is mammography screening for breast cancer. AI is performing at or sometimes even above human level there, and some systems are even starting to integrate genetic risk factors to suggest more personalized screening schedules.
Better detection, more personalized screening.
Yeah.
Sounds like a win.
Yeah. And we see AI being applied to CT and MRI scans for all sorts of things, finding pulmonary embolisms, analyzing tumors on cancer scans, rapidly assessing trauma injuries in the ER. And that diabetic retinopathy screening we mentioned earlier, still a major success story, bringing screening to potentially millions more people.
So it's like a powerful assistant for radiologists and pathologists. Is it moving beyond imaging?
Oh, yeah. In pathology itself, with digital slides, whole slide imaging AI is helping analyze tissue samples. It can assist with things like Gleason scoring for prostate cancer, analyzing complex breast biopsies, even predicting molecular markers just from looking at the standard tissue image.
Wow, linking the visual appearance to the underlying genetics.
Exactly. And automation is coming to cytology screening, too, like for pap smears. Then there are clinical decision support systems, CDSS.
CDSS, how do those fit into the daily routine?
They're tools that analyze patient data from the EHR, labs, imaging, and give prompts or alerts to doctors at the point of care.
Like what kind of prompts?
They can help with risk prediction, flagging patients at high risk for sepsis or heart failure or stroke. They can help predict antimicrobial resistance patterns. They can act as diagnostic aids, suggesting possible diagnoses based on symptoms entered, which can be really helpful in busy primary care or emergency settings.
Kind of like a safety net or a sophisticated second opinion?
That's a good way to put it. They also generate alerts for potential drug interactions or reminders for needed screenings or vaccinations. The big challenge, though, is making them work smoothly.
How so?
They need to integrate seamlessly into the doctor's existing workflow, usually within the electronic health record. The information has to be easy to find, actionable, and critically, it shouldn't cause alert fatigue.
Right. Too many alerts and people start ignoring them.
Exactly. So design and customization are key. They're also starting to integrate data from wearables now for more continuous monitoring insights.
Okay, so diagnosis, decision support. What about preventing illness in the first place?
AI is definitely moving into preventive care and population health. It can help make screening programs smarter, for instance.
Smarter how?
By using more dynamic risk assessment to personalize when someone should be screened for certain conditions, rather than just using age, for example, moving beyond one-size-fits-all.
That makes sense.
AI is also used to build sophisticated risk models for chronic diseases, predicting who's likely to develop complications from diabetes or have a heart attack, identifying high-risk people earlier. And on a bigger scale, it's used in public health surveillance.
Tracking disease outbreaks.
Yeah, epidemiological modeling, predicting outbreaks, even monitoring the potential health impacts of things like climate change. And at the individual level, AI tied to wearables is getting better at analyzing activity, sleep, stress levels, giving personalized wellness advice.
Okay, cover diagnosis, prevention, decision support. What about actually treating illness?
Huge impact there, too, especially in drug discovery and development.
That seems like a process AI could really speed up.
It really can. AI assists at multiple stages. Finding potential drug targets in the first place, optimizing the design of drug molecules to be more effective and less toxic, making clinical trials more efficient by helping find the right patients, even identifying existing drugs that could be repurposed for new diseases.
And AlphaFold fits in here again.
Definitely. Understanding protein structures is critical for that target identification and initial drug design phase. AI can potentially shave years and huge costs off the drug development pipeline.
Getting needed drugs to patients faster.
That's the goal. AI is also absolutely central to personalized or precision medicine.
Using your specific biology to tailor treatment.
Exactly. It helps make sense of complex genomic data, pharmacogenomics, to predict how you might respond to a drug, helping optimize the dose. It identifies biomarkers that predict whether a specific cancer drug will work for a patient. It integrates massive multi-omics datasets to stratify patients into groups that need different approaches.
Handling that complexity must be key.
It is. AI helps develop the companion diagnostics often needed alongside these targeted therapies. And finally, AI is making its way into the operating room.
How? Assisting surgeons?
Yes. Enhancing robotic surgery platforms, improving surgical planning and simulations, sometimes using VR or AR with haptic feedback for training, providing real-time guidance during procedures by overlaying images or information, and even predicting surgical outcomes or complication risks to improve safety.
Wow. Okay, from molecules to the OR, the range is just incredible.
It really is. But, and this is a big but, getting all this amazing tech actually working effectively in day-to-day clinical practice, that's where the really big challenges lie.
Yeah, the implementation hurdle.
Yeah.
It's not just about having the cool tech.
Not at all. Healthcare systems need deliberate adoption strategies. That means serious change management. You need leadership buy-in. You need to address the culture, get staff prepared and trained. Often it involves pilot programs, phased rollout.
And getting everyone on board, doctors, nurses, patients.
Absolutely crucial. Engaging all stakeholders is key, and you have to figure out how you'll measure success. Is it improving patient outcomes? Is it making things more efficient? Is it cost-effective? You need those metrics.
And making it fit into how doctors and nurses actually work.
That's maybe the biggest piece, clinical workflow integration. The AI tool needs an interface that's intuitive, doesn't add a bunch of clicks, gives clear, actionable info right where they need it, usually within the EHR or PES system.
It can't just be another clunky piece of software they have to fight with.
Exactly. Seamless integration is the goal. You have to analyze the current workflow, map it out, maybe introduce the AI gradually, let people opt in initially, always prioritizing safety.
And you mentioned alert fatigue earlier. How do you stop the AI from just overwhelming people?
That's a constant balancing act. You need smart alert management, customization options, feedback loops so clinicians can say what's useful and what's not, and critically, the AI has to support and enhance clinical judgment, not replace or undermine it. That's vital.
And training. Everyone needs to understand this stuff, right?
Across the board, doctors, nurses need AI literacy, plus training specific to their field radiology, pathology, etc. IT staff need technical training, and patient education is really important too.
Explaining AI to patients.
Yeah.
That sounds challenging.
It is. Need clear, accessible language, considering health literacy. And then there's the money side.
The economics. Always a factor.
Huge factor. Hospitals need solid cost-benefit analyses. What are the upfront costs, the ongoing costs, versus the potential savings or improved outcomes? And how does this get paid for? Reimbursement models are still catching up to AI. Does it fit into fee-for-service, value-based care? These questions heavily influence how quickly things get adopted.
So, yeah, the tech is one thing, but making it work in the real messy world of healthcare, that's the tough part.
It really is. And layered on top of all that implementation stuff is this whole complex world of ethics, regulations, legal issues.
Right, because we're talking about people's health data, which is incredibly sensitive. How is that handled?
Privacy and data security are absolutely foundational. You've got major regulations like HIPAA in the US, GDPR in Europe, that set really strict rules. Any AI system touching patient data has to comply. This means strong security measures, but also techniques like de-identification or anonymization, trying to strip out information that could identify a patient while keeping the data useful for training AI.
Tricky balance, I imagine.
Very. And there are more advanced techniques being explored too, like differential privacy or using synthetic data that mimics real data patterns without being actual patient information.
Interesting. What about training models without having to pool all that sensitive data in one place?
That's where federated learning comes in. It's a really important concept.
Federated learning, how does that work?
Basically, instead of sending all the data to a central server to train the AI model, You send the model to the data wherever it lives, like at different hospitals.
Ah,
The model learns locally on each hospital's data, and only the updated model parameters, not the raw patient data itself, are sent back and aggregated to create an improved central model. It helps preserve privacy.
so the data stays put, which is safer.
That's the idea. There are other advanced privacy techniques too, like homomorphic encryption, but federated learning is gaining traction.
Okay, privacy is huge. What about bias? We hear a lot about bias in AI generally. How does that play out in medicine?
This is a really critical issue, maybe one of the most important ethical challenges. AI models learn from data, and if that data reflects historical biases or inequities in healthcare.
The AI learns those biases too.
Exactly. Data might underrepresent certain demographic groups or reflect past treatment disparities based on race, gender, socioeconomic status. There can be geographic bias if data comes mostly from certain areas. Even how the algorithm is designed can introduce bias.
And that could lead to AI tools working better for some groups than others, worsening health disparities.
That's the major concern. It could absolutely worsen existing health inequities if we're not incredibly careful. So detecting and actively mitigating bias is a huge area of research and development. It requires systematic approaches throughout the AI lifecycle.
It sounds incredibly complex to get right.
It is. And related to this is the idea of explainable AI, or XAI, which we touched on with MYCIN.
Right, understanding why the AI made a particular recommendation.
Yes. Many powerful deep learning models are like black boxes. They give an answer, but it's hard to see the internal reasoning. That's problematic in medicine.
You need to know why it's suggesting something.
Doctors need to trust it, validate it, explain it to patients. So there's this trade-off between purely predictive power and interpretability. There's a lot of work on developing inherently interpretable models or methods to explain black box models.
Like what kind of methods?
Things like showing which features in the data were most important for a decision, visualizing heat maps on an image showing where the AI looked, providing explanations based on similar past cases, or generating counterfactuals like what would need to change for the prediction to be different.
So ways to peek inside the box, or at least understand the inputs and outputs better.
Exactly. It's crucial for clinical acceptance, safety, and patient communication. Then there's the regulatory side we mentioned.
Right, the FDA, the EU-AI Act, keeping pace with the tech.
Yeah, it's a moving target. Regulators are developing frameworks for AI as a medical device, figuring out how to handle AI that learns and changes over time, focusing on things like post-market surveillance to catch issues after deployment. International groups are trying to harmonize approaches, too.
And how does patient consent fit into all this, if an AI is involved in your diagnosis or treatment plan?
Another really important question, how do you meaningfully explain AI to a patient so they can give informed consent? It's tough.
Yeah, explaining complex algorithms isn't easy.
Right, so frameworks are being developed. What information does a patient need? They need to know AI is being used, what its role is, what the alternatives are, how accurate it's known to be, the potential risks and benefits.
And present it in a way they can understand.
Yes, plain language, maybe visuals, considering health literacy. And clinicians need training and time to have these conversations properly. Tied into this is data ownership and control. Who owns the patient data? Who gets to decide how it's used for AI?
More tricky questions.
Very complex legal and ethical ground. Different models are being discussed. Patient ownership, provider stewardship, shared models. Clear governance frameworks are needed, including things like easy ways for patients to opt out of their data being used for AI development if they choose.
Wow. Okay, so navigating the ethics, the regulations, the data issues, it's a maze.
It absolutely is, but essential to get right for responsible innovation.
So, assuming we navigate that maze, what's on the horizon? What's the next frontier for AI in medicine look like based on these sources?
Well, looking ahead, we're seeing some potentially game-changing technologies emerge. Quantum computing is one.
Quantum?
Yeah.
Really? How would that apply to medicine?
It's still early days, mostly research, but the potential is there for tasks that are just too complex for current computers. Simulating molecular interactions for drug discovery at an unprecedented level of detail. Maybe new types of quantum machine learning for super complex data, even quantum cryptography for ultra-secure data sharing.
Okay, so a potential leap in computational power down the road. What about more near-term stuff?
A big trend is edge computing and point-of-care AI. Basically bringing the AI processing capability onto the device itself, closer to the patient.
Instead of sending data to the cloud.
Exactly. Think portable diagnostic devices, smart monitors, wearables that can do analysis locally. This reduces latency critical for real-time alerts, improves privacy, and works even without constant connectivity.
So faster insights right at the bedside or even at home.
That's the idea. Things like AI-powered mobile ultrasound, real-time analysis of EKG from a wearable. Linked to this is multimodal sensor fusion, combining data from different sources, like wearables, environmental sensors, maybe even implants, to get a much richer picture of someone's health in context.
Pulling all those different streams together.
Right. And we're seeing more augmented and virtual reality, AR and VR, integrated with AI.
How's that being used?
A lot in surgical training and planning. AI can drive highly realistic VR simulations, maybe with haptic feedback so you can feel the tissues. AR can overlay patient scans or critical information onto the surgeon's view during an operation. It's also great for immersive medical education.
Letting doctors practice complex procedures virtually first.
Exactly, improving skills and safety. Looking at the bigger picture, AI still holds huge promise for global health and improving accessibility.
Getting healthcare to more people.
Yes. AI can power diagnostic tools on basic smartphones, enable portable devices for resource-limited settings, boost telemedicine by providing decision support or analysis remotely, extending the reach of specialists. Designing AI that's robust and maintainable in those settings is key.
Telemedicine really took off recently. AI could make it even better.
For sure. Enhancing remote monitoring for chronic conditions, post-op care, mental health check-ins, medication reminders, even coordinating emergency responses. Mobile health apps powered by AI are hugely scalable, offering personalized coaching, analyzing sensor data from your phone.
Bringing healthcare tools right into people's pockets.
Pretty much. But again, achieving real equity means tackling the digital divide, access to devices, connectivity, digital literacy. That's crucial.
Any other exciting emerging areas?
Definitely. Mental health is a big one. AI analyzing speech patterns, text, or behavior for early signs of depression or crisis. Personalizing digital therapeutics. Optimizing care for aging populations is another better monitoring for falls, cognitive assessment tools, personalized care plans to help people age well at home.
Helping older adults stay safe and independent.
Yeah. And pediatrics has unique needs. AI is being used for things like tracking growth milestones, screening for developmental or learning issues, helping with tricky medication dosing for kids, planning complex pediatric surgeries.
Tailoring AI for children's specific physiology and development.
Right. And for rare diseases, AI is proving really valuable.
How so? They're hard to diagnose.
Exactly. AI can sift through complex patient data, including genomic and imaging data, to find subtle patterns that might suggest a rare disease, potentially speeding up diagnosis significantly. It helps analyze multi-omics data to understand these diseases better, supports clinical trials, and helps gather real-world evidence.
Using AI to make progress on conditions that affect smaller groups but are devastating for them.
That's the potential, but realizing all this future potential still hinges on some key things. We need better standardization for data formats, for how AI models communicate, for evaluation metrics. We need clear frameworks for safety and quality certification.
Making sure these tools are reliable and safe long-term.
Precisely. That includes ongoing monitoring after deployment, long-term surveillance to track performance, check for drift or unexpected issues, monitor user satisfaction, and confirm that they remain cost-effective and beneficial.
So the work is definitely not done.
Far from it. It's a continuous process of innovation, implementation, evaluation, and refinement.
So pulling it all together, what's the big picture vision here? How do these sources see AI ultimately changing healthcare?
The consistent vision isn't really about AI replacing doctors or nurses. It's much more about AI-human collaboration.
Augmenting human skills.
Exactly. Fundamentally restructuring how healthcare is delivered to make it potentially more accurate, definitely more accessible, maybe more efficient, and hopefully allowing healthcare professionals to focus more on the uniquely human aspects of care. Empathy, communication, complex judgment.
So technology enhancing the human touch, not eliminating it.
That's the optimistic view, aiming for care that is better, faster, more personalized, but also still compassionate.
That's a really powerful and hopeful vision. It leaves us with a lot to think about. So what does this all mean for the future of your own health journey? How might you want AI to be involved or not involved in your care? And maybe what questions should you start thinking about asking when AI plays a role?